going on, guys? So this is my long-awaited video on the little cut I did back in December, January-ish, and I got so many questions about it, so I wanted to let you guys know how it went and then jump into some more information on mini cuts in general in the event that you want to try one for yourself. So the whole reason that I decided to do a mini cut in the first place was to drop about 5 pounds or so, which was a little bit of a personal goal of mine so I could really see the abs pop, which you guys will know if you watched my last video. But like I said in that video, 6 months ago, I could have dropped the same 5 pounds and I still probably wouldn't have had any visible abs. So training them is the reason I'm able to see them now at this current body weight. But if you missed that video, I'll link it down below for you. So I started my cut at the beginning of December, weighing about 120 pounds or so, and I ended my cut about 6 weeks later at 115 pounds. And I actually had my couples cheat day with Jeff to sort of end the cut, but aside from that cheat day, I didn't do any cheat days during the 6 weeks I was dieting. And since then, I've just been maintaining my weight, and I actually plan to continue maintaining my weight until I go to the Arnold. And yes, I will be at the Arnold, which is the first weekend in March. And after that, I plan to start a reverse diet so I can start refocusing my attention to adding more muscle again. And I'll do this by slowly upping my calories week to week, so I'm no longer maintaining or in a caloric deficit. So now I just want to go over what a mini cut is and how to do one. So a mini cut is more or less putting yourself in a caloric deficit for a short period of time to lose a relatively small amount of weight. And this is different than what you need to do to lose a lot of weight, which is done optimally over a long period of time. And I'm loosely using the term mini cut because this term was originally coined for physique athletes in the off season during a bulking phase that wanted to mitigate too much fat gain too quickly. So they would often do a 2 to 6 week period of being in a deficit. But I think the term has kind of been adopted in fitness jargon to basically mean a quick period spent in a deficit to lose some extra body fat, whether that be for an event or even just to tighten up, for the lack of better words. And because it's not a lot of weight, it really doesn't warrant a full-blown long-term dieting phase. And even though you're not in a deficit for a long period of time, there are still some things you can do to ensure that you're doing whatever you can to mitigate muscle loss, which typically happens when you diet. And it's a good thing to keep in mind that the less time you spend in a deficit, the better. And like I said, if your goal is to lose a lot of body fat, which is done in the most healthy manner slowly over time, a mini cut is not for you. This is for those who want to drop a few pounds over a month and a half, and then go back to maintenance calories or start a reverse diet. Now, because the cut is for a very short time, you can be a bit more aggressive than with a traditional cut because you don't run as high of a risk of losing lean body mass, i.e. muscle, over a short period of time. So first up, let's talk about nutrition. So what I recommend is to aim to lose about 1 to 2 pounds per week, or in other words, about 1% of body weight per week. This, however, does depend on your starting body composition. So the higher your starting body fat percentage, you can lean towards the upper end of that range. And the trickiest part about all of this is figuring out your maintenance calories, or the amount of calories you can eat without gaining any weight. I recommend tracking to figure out what that is for you, or you can Google a maintenance calorie calculator online to give you a rough idea, and then give those calories a try to see if that's your true maintenance. I generally recommend cutting about 25% of your maintenance calories. And again, mini cuts can be a bit more aggressive because they are for a short time. And because the goal is to preserve our muscle, of course, protein intake should be high. While cutting, I recommend 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And this is based off of recommendations from a 2018 systematic review of protein recommendations for weight loss in elite athletes. So if you weigh 120 pounds, then you should have 120 grams of protein per day. Now, with your protein calories established, you have carbs and fats to play with to make your 25% deficit. I personally recommend keeping carbs as high as possible to fuel performance and to start with lowering your fats. But you don't want to ever lower your fats below 0.3 grams per pound of body weight. So if you ever get to that threshold, you may have to tap into your carbs to make up for that deficit. I also recommend partitioning the bulk of your carbs carbs around your training sessions. And if you're like me and intermittent fast, I'd still recommend timing your meals around your training. I personally find my workouts really suffer if I train fasted, so that's just something to keep in mind if you also intermittent fast. Now let's talk about training, which is actually really easy to cover because training should not change at all during a cut. And I want to emphasize that weight training while you're dieting is extremely important. It's one of the most important things you can do to hold onto your muscle while you're dieting. So remember, you should focus on trying to maintain your strength and intensity in the gym. And of course, there may come a time that you won't have as much energy, maybe by week 4 or 5, which is totally normal, but I would try super hard to keep it up to the best of your ability. And I personally like to work in a moderate rep range of about 6 to 15 reps, and I kind of avoid super high rep training of 20 plus reps so I don't deplete all of my muscle glycogen. So what about cardio? Well, cardio is something that is entirely up to you. Cardio is a tool that you can use to create that 25% deficit, so you can either use food, cardio, or a little bit of both. And this is going to be totally personal preference. Some people would rather have more food and do the cardio to make up the deficit, and some people hate cardio and would rather eat a little bit less. The only cardio that I personally did was just prioritizing getting my 10,000 steps a day, but that's actually something I do regardless if I'm cutting or not. And if you are going to do cardio, my recommendation is to do steady state cardio sessions as needed, so it's not too taxing on the body, as you don't want to impede your weight training, which is why I generally don't recommend HIIT cardio. But if you personally just like doing HIIT cardio, I would just try to keep it at a minimum, preferably always after your workouts. And again, because you don't want it to affect your weight training or your recovery. And to make all of this a little bit easier, I'm going to put up a summary slide right now so you can screenshot it if you'd like and refer back to it later. And if you're thinking of running a mini cut or even a long-term cut, I wanted to offer you guys a special discount on my women's specialization program, which will be half off for the next week. It's honestly a great tool to make sure that your training is on point, especially while you're in a deficit. So you can go into the gym, do what is prescribed in the program without having to think about it, and just execute it. And that is all I have for you. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and come see me at the Arnold if you are going. I will list my times in the description box below. I love you so much, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye!